To just kind of let my audience know a little bit about myself and what led me on this journey to Making Wellness. I always knew that I wanted to be in a helping profession in some capacity. I love to meet people. I love to form connections. And ultimately, that's really what led me to be a therapist. Just knowing how cool it is to meet people, to see people, and I just love to help people. Therapy is such a humbling profession. I am honored and humbled every day to be a part of my clients' growth and their journeys. And I get to do fun things like this, like being on Instagram Live with you all this morning. So thanks for logging in at 10 a.m. and joining me here. I do have a co-therapist in the room. His name is Tino. He's currently sleeping under the desk. So hopefully Tino behaves this morning, but he is joining us in the room today. He is my 7-year-old pit bull. He's just adorable. Today, what I wanted to talk to everyone about here was a topic that came to mind when I was chatting with a friend of mine about sort of all the big picture things happening in the world and kind of how scary it can be and how much we can feel like we're not in control when these big things happen. So I thought about talking about when big things happen that are outside of our control. When events happen around the world that maybe we're not necessarily directly a part of, but they certainly leave an impact on us, right? We can feel like we have no control when these big things happen that are seemingly outside of our control. It can cause emotional reactions and heartache and headache and physical reactions. So the information that I'm sharing with you today is certainly applicable to those big picture items, but can be directly applied to our individual lives as well. The first thing that I want to talk about, that being said, is this idea of control, right? So what we think about when we think about control at its most basic level is, what are we in control of? And on the flip side, what are we not in control of? So an exercise that I like to do for myself, or that I like to do with my clients sometimes, is something that I call the circle exercise. So you can do this physically if you wish to have it on a piece of paper, or you can just draw a mental picture in your mind and work on this. So what I have myself do, or I ask my clients to do, is to just get a blank piece of paper and draw a circle in the middle of it. Draw a big circle. Write your name in the middle of the circle. What we're doing here is everything that we draw or write inside of the circle with our name in it are things that are directly in our control. Therefore, everything outside of the circle are things that we're not in control of. One of the reasons that I really like this exercise, in addition to it being, helping us sort out our thoughts about control, it also can really help us slow down our thought processes. So I find that a lot of people, when these big things happen, their thoughts spiral and they run and they go sort of down this rabbit hole. And by doing an exercise, a physical writing exercise, it can really help us slow down our thought processes and start to regain the control over at least the racing thoughts. It can help us organize those racing thoughts, and most importantly, organize them into, okay, what's within my circle of control and what's sort of outside of it. So for example, when big things happen in the world, one thing that we're definitely in control of is how much media and how much news we consume. Being able to have the awareness to know that we're in control of when we turn the TV on, when we read the news articles, and being able to know whether or not we are in a headspace to absorb that material. So that's one thing that we would write, for example, inside of our circle of control is, I'm in control of when I tune in and how much I tune in, maybe even how often I tune in. And knowing and, being respectful of when we're not in a headspace to tune in right now. So another thing that we are also in control of is how we respond to what we're hearing. Sounds basic, right? But, at its most basic level, we are not in control of other people's behaviors. We are not in control of what people do, how they act, or what they say. But what we can control is how we respond to those comments, to those actions. So something else we would want to draw inside of our circle is, our responses. Our responses brings me to the next thing I want to talk with you all about today, which is emotion regulation. So emotion regulation, I like to say, it's feel your feels. Let yourself feel it, whatever it is. Be non-judgmental about whatever you're feeling. Cry if you need to. Talk to a friend, talk to a therapist, talk to a family member, go for a run, go to the gym. Do whatever it is you need to do to release those emotions in a safe space. And most importantly, being able to express those emotions non-judgmentally. Because whatever you are feeling is valid, whatever you are feeling is allowed. And then lastly, self-care. So this has become a buzzword in the past several years, right? But I think it's all for good reasons that self-care has become a buzzword. So self-care is a very basic concept of what we do to take care of ourselves, what we want to do when we need to recharge. One of my favorite analogies here is that we would never let our smartphone battery die, right? If our iPhone battery is like draining, we're going to go run to the nearest charger and plug that in, and we're going to make sure that we still have battery and power and juice. So if we would never let our devices die, why would we let our own batteries, drain? So the idea here is that we want to do what we need to do in order to recharge. That looks different for everyone. For those that are on live, I would encourage you to drop some of your self-care things in the chat. I love hearing what people do for self-care because I think it can give others ideas of what they can do for self-care. So anyone that's here, feel free to drop your self-care in the chat. We would love to see it and love to hear what it is that you do for yourself. For me personally, putting my phone away for a bit. That's always a great thing. Sort of unplugging, right? Taking my dog for a walk. I love to do that. Chatting with a friend. All self-care things. Netflix, TV, movies, petting the cats, absolutely. We love self-care with animals. They're great for emotion regulation. Thanks so much for your contributions, everybody. Again, I do monitor the chat after the stream ends. So if anyone has any questions, any thoughts, any follow-up points, I will be available after this. I had a wonderful time sharing this information with you all this morning. I truly hope that there was at least something that, a tidbit of information that you can take from this that you found helpful. I hope that you all have a wonderful day today. And like I said, reach out if we or Make and Wellness can be of any assistance. Thank you all.